So let's rock. We're gonna have a quick episode, but it's one of those that I guarantee you're gonna love, and you're gonna think that
Boom, boom, boom.
there's some serious value here. So some of you guys might not have loved, our Pokemon play. Cool.
Why not? Who didn't love it? Let's talk about that. Who didn't love it? People didn't love it. I mean, it was $80 play for a PSA 10. Like you can't even get a half a PSA card graded for that at all.
Do they grade half cards?
No, but that's the point. It's $150. That's like half the grading fee. Even if they get $100 thing, I mean that's $80 for a PSA 10 of a 20-something-year-old card. So not 25 years yet because 96 is the 25 year, but like 22, 23-year-old Pikachu. Pokemon's the biggest brand in the world. I mean, like, who wouldn't like that? And if you don't, all right, stick to your own stuff. That's cool too. But $80 to me, I mean, that seems like, why not have it in your collection? You got people buying dumb NFTs that are 10,000 of. This is only 1,200. Anyway.
Do you want to show people what you bought for a quarter of an ETH?
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
They're not ready.
It will be revealed when the time is right.
That's right. Welcome back to another episode of Lucas Tigers and Bronze. So we had the Pokemon play. Cage gave you guys another play. I guarantee you 94% of you, 99% of you guys have slept on this play. And I think it's an amazing play. Desmond Bane.
Bane!
You want to talk about him a little bit?
Dude, Bane. He breaks Batman's back. He plays basketball. He was having good run when Ja was there. And you're really getting to see that he could be, a legit NBA player without Ja there right now. Look at a pretty complete team player. You know what I mean? He a little undersized, stocky, right? Just like a good player. And
he reminds me of Michael Chandler. I already said it.
Michael Chandler, the UFC fighter. It's pretty funny. Maybe he scraps. You're into combat sports now, so there's no turning back. I recommend, this is a weird one, guys, but I recommend everybody follow Eric Larson on Instagram. Okay? This is the guy who I sold my entire UFC collection to a couple years before I got back into basketball, baseball, grading, and that kind of stuff. But from 2009 to 2014-ish, 2015-ish, I amassed a significant collection of UFC cards and ultimately got out of it. And he and I partnered on a lot of cards. We together went 50-50 on the Dana White rookie 1/1. Red 1/1 base Dana White card, which would be pretty cool. I once had that with me at a taping of a sports show that Regis Philbin did. Regis Philbin and what's his name? Katie Nolan. The show didn't last, but they filmed it at Chelsea Piers in the city, and Dana White was the guest, and I brought it. And I had the rookie card with me, and I said to security, hey, if Dana wants to see this cool card, like it would be, it's his rookie, it's a 1/1, like I paid thousands of dollars for it, it'd be cool. And the security guy came back and said he doesn't care. I was trying to get him to buy it. It would have been great. But anyway, this guy Eric Larson, if you follow him on
Would you have let him sign it?
I would not have let him sign it. Not a 1/1 base. No. I'd let him sign a base, maybe a silver. They actually had silvers back then. They were numbered out of 288. Which we used to laugh at. Gold with like a thick card. You got one of every pack, basically. It was like a nothing thing. Now they're like hundreds of dollars. A Joe Rogan rookie gold. Forget about it. I can only imagine how much that costs. But anyway, this dude has, some sick stuff. He had a picture yesterday. People don't know. It was a quad auto Leaf, which is not licensed, but I still like the product. You guys know I talk about it all the time. George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva on one side, and Fedor Emelianenko and Brock Lesnar on the other. A 1/1. 4 autos of like 4 of the goats of the sport. Just cool stuff that you're just not going to see anywhere. It's like going through a museum. It's like Nat Turner, but for UFC stuff. Some of the cool stuff he has. All kinds of like numbered Khabib rookie autos from the 2014 knockout. Today, I think he posted what's called a fistogram. Sounds dirty, but it was an oversized box topper that was a Khabib knockout rookie that had his autograph on the top and his fist print. They had him dip their fist in ink, and it was a fist print, like a dual. So it was an autograph and a fist print. It was pretty cool, fistogram. Really, really cool stuff.
What do you think our first card that we go 50-50 on will be?
I don't know, man. There's a couple of ideas. Like I think, honestly, it would have to be a Kobe Jordan dual auto. That would have to
be sick.
Because you're a Kobe, I'm a Jordan, and those cards are probably the kind of cards we'd have to go 50-50 on because we can't afford it ourselves. The whole 100% of it. So that would be nice. But yeah, man, let's talk about Desmond Bane. I will say this before you get into the positives on Desmond Bane and make him your play. The one thing I get nervous about is he's a very unselfish player. Like if you watch him play, very unselfish, very team player, would fit well with Miami. Not tall enough to fill Bam's spot. Bam's out for a little while. You see a little surgery he needs on his hand, right? But he seems to fall into that 1B type of in the shadow role a little bit when there's a more dominant, when Ja's there and Ja's doing his thing. He falls into more of a Middleton to the Giannis kind of role. So that's the only thing that kind of, but he's young, so he could grow out of that and grow into his own, little confidence and whatnot. Shoot.
I think with this team, if you look how young they are, you don't really know who the 1A and 1B is. And you don't know if they both become 1A and one of them gets moved. Also, there is that possibility because they are a little bit small for a backcourt in the traditional NBA, right? Like they are maybe like the smallest backcourt, second to Garland and Colin Sexton. So there is that. But I think he has so much potential. But that's not my play today either. Any topics you want to discuss? I know today's going to be a slightly shorter episode.
No, man. I mean, in sports cards, I had a great time at Bleeker trading. That was a lot of fun. Got to see some cards that were just out of this world cards this week. Just really sick cards. We didn't talk about it yesterday's episode because it was a guest episode, but some cards. Bleeker has become a museum without becoming a museum. And if you get a chance to go there for one of these trade nights, it's amazing because there'd be two ways to do a museum, right? It would be one, partner up with somebody, and have them come and show their cards, or you have a trade night and people come from, New Jersey, wherever it may be. This particular person I'm talking about came in from New Jersey, and the cards that were there were amazing. Like I was holding a LeBron exquisite RPA, BGS 8.5, 7-figure card, just right there in my hand, 7-figure card. A row of Jordans that I personally have never seen. Linchpins. I have a picture. I'll post it of me holding it up because, linchpins, what's cool about it is there's holes in it. So you can kind of see the light through the little linchpins in the card. But I've never seen a PSA 10 in person. PSA 9s are out of my price range. And this guy had a 10. The platinum metal fusion with the cutouts out of 40 had one. A really awesome Scoring Kings 1-of-1 buyback auto, like autograph by Michael Jordan on a Scoring Kings. I'm trying to think of some of the other. A Jambalaya PSA 10 Jordan. Which is a card that nobody cared about. But now, of course, forget about it. Who the hell knows how much it's worth? 6 figures, easy. And what the funniest part was, tucked away in the back of the row was a Jordan rookie PSA 10. And it was like ho-hum compared to some of these other cards. And you're like, oh, my God.
Well, that's your admission ticket, right? That's what you call it?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's cool to see this stuff that, that people bring to these shows. I mean, just really, really sick stuff. I'm not even doing it justice, with the, the cards that were there. I mean, you talk about like Skybox Rubies, just like the cards that you maybe see on a golden auction, but here you are holding them, at Bleeker. If you have a chance for one of these trading events, I would say to go. If for no other reason, you get to see stuff that you just don't see. And I got to tell you, depending on how you leave it, you can feel reinvigorated at the hobby, kind of like, hey, I got something to chase. Like if this person can do it and color up to these, then I'm on my way. Or you leave humbled. Because here you are thinking like, wow, my collection's pretty cool. And you're like, my whole collection is not one of these cards. So it's an interesting thing. But the cool part about it is that this was not somebody who's like, I'm locking this up, putting it in a vault. Somebody who's walking around saying, yeah, you want to hold? Go ahead. Here you go. Here's the card. Take a look at that one. What do you think? You like it?
You talked to him for some time, right?
Yeah. I mean, just real cool stuff.
Good guy.
Yep. I think it's Northeast Cards, I think is the name. I'll have to check. But just real cool stuff. And Josh from Card Ladder was there. Nick Oyako was there. Nick, he's got an insane collection too. He also has a LeBron BGS 9. It's just amazing. That's now the cool the ticket. The LeBron.
For now. We'll see how his season ends. Maybe he becomes top 10. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
But anyway, so that's cool. That's my talking point for the week.
Right now, he's not even the best 36-year-old in the league. So that award goes to Chris Paul, someone who we're literally not even talking about, who is playing at an elite level and playing this like kind of mentor role, like kind of like a player coach role. And it's amazing. Yesterday was one of my favorite nights of basketball of the year. You got to see Knicks Nets, kind of this crosstown rivalry. It's always interesting, right? The Knicks have as much fans in Brooklyn as the Nets. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but just shows how young the Nets team is. And Curry might be the only player that gets cheered anywhere he goes. It's kind of incredible to watch away games, how Curry gets so much love from the fans.
He shot
Not
under
as much in
20%.
Phoenix. Huh?
He shot under 20%.
He's a chucker. He's a chucker. He shoots a lot.
Bad night. But
Yeah.
as bad a night as his was, Jordan Poole is really good.
Do you think you should judge a player by one night, though?
No, of course not.
Like, over time, the percentages even out.
Of course, one day I'll have a bad episode. I mean, it hasn't happened yet.
It
But
hasn't happened.
One day, I'll go 4 for 21 on my dad jokes. And it'll all even out. And hopefully Luca Nation gives me a pass. That one time out of 7,000 that we.
I bet you don't even know the news that I'm about to report to you right now. Did you know?
Is this a gold bomb? There's Woj bombs. You could just be gold bombs. I mean, that just sounds like a pediatrician. It doesn't even work. It just sounds like a regular. It sounds like a regular Jewish name. Gold bomb.
So a lot of people don't realize, and I think today was one of the first episodes. Dwayne Wade is releasing a book. Did you know this?
12 and a half.
No, stupid. It's a photographic memoir with 100 new photos of Wade's life and behind the scenes and all this stuff. And he's doing kind of like a podcast tour. He was on Lewis House today. I'm sure he'll do a lot more moving forward.
When's he coming on our show? D-Wade,
Dude,
come on, man. Get on.
D-Wade.
Let's hear about this book.
Well, him and Lefko are friends. So, I mean, they say it's like 6 degrees of separation. In the internet world, it's like more like 3.
Yeah. All right, I'll reach out to him later. See if he wants to come on the show.
Please.
And we will do a reading of his book and Scottie Pippen's book, Blind. And the audience can tell us on YouTube whether or not that excerpt came from Scottie Pippen's book or Dwayne Wade's book. That's a good game. Except this is all pictures, so there's nothing to read.
So I would say Wade is a buy without this book. But him being in culture, him being on TNT, releasing a book, going on podcasts, I think that his cards are cheap as is, and adding that media attention, I think it's just a great opportunity to buy. And I'm going to give you guys 2 cards to look at. One's on the higher end, one's on the lower end, relatively lower end. So obviously you could go with the Topps Chrome. That's the basic one. That's the one everyone knows. A PSA 9 is relatively cheap, $188.
Wow.
Reasonable. Like, I mean, PSA 9s, you can say what you want about them, but there's only 1,400. Only 1,400. 830 PSA 10s. PSA 10 is about $800, 730. That's one option. But if you want to get interesting, this card is kind of all over the place, but I think right now, maybe you could get it pretty cheap. And it's the rookie card of the 2003-2004 Essential Credentials, Dwayne Wade card. Have you ever seen it?
Yep.
It's out of 90. It's a gorgeous card. One of them. It's here. I'll share it with you guys because I think it's super cool, and it has like this like little thing right here, Cage. This is how they used to do the rookie stamp. I mean, dude, look at this card. It's like about a $3,000 card, so it's not cheap. But like, how cool is that little R right there? Gorgeous card. I think this is probably in his summer league jersey or like practice jersey. So that's my play. It's a little shorter episode because I know you got to bounce and do some things. But
it's a cool card.
Dwayne Wade, whether Topps Chrome or the EX Credentials 2003 rookie.
I like that, man. So I mean, bunch of different ways for me to go with this one. I mean, I was gonna come out with a Chris Paul play, but I gave one. I went back and I looked. We actually gave his Topps and his Topps Chrome. They've gone up since then. With different exits on him. I mean, that team did they win all the games they played in November? I mean, that team started off 3-4.
The Suns.
The Suns. They started off they lost 3 of their first 4 games.
Yep.
And they've won 17 games, and now they played Detroit. They're going to win 18 straight games. That's pretty impressive. That's difficult to do. And yet, even with that, they now have the same record as Golden State, and they play Golden State again on Friday. So it's very interesting. It
was awesome to watch, Cage, because it was cool. Both teams had a chip on their shoulder. Both teams play complete basketball. We talk a lot about, both offenses. Like, watching good defense, like, I think, Monty Williams deserves Coach of the Year, but so does Steve Kerr. That team is not that talented on defense. Actually, for a long time, Curry was a liability on defense, is what they said, right?
Yep.
And watching both, that game was awesome to watch because you had ball movement, you had passing, you had defense. Oh, it was brilliant to watch. Brilliant to watch.
I'll tell you, the watching that game, the fun part was, if you're a Warriors fan, you have to hope that Wiseman can play a little bit, because what they were missing was size. I mean, DeAndre Ayton looked like Will Chamberlain out there. There was nobody to play him. There was nobody to cover him. You know, he was getting in, easy baskets. And when the game comes down to the last couple minutes, anyone's game, that matters. You know what I mean? Being able to get an offensive rebound here and there changes the complexion of the entire game. Playing a little defense on DeAndre Ayton, I'm hoping it's Wiseman if you're a Golden State guy. He's tall, so we'll see. We'll see what happens when he comes back and whether the kid can play. He's never really played. You know what I mean? He played like 2 college games in Memphis.
Yep.
And he hardly played, so it's interesting to see, what happens with Wiseman. But my play is actually it's a stay away from.
Wow,
right? It's
I
a
like
little
this.
different, right? And you will be able to give some insight into this as well, because I love Mac Jones. Love him.
Who?
Mac Jones.
Mike Jones?
Mike Lowry. No, Mac.
You don't know when I say Mike Jones, you don't know who I'm talking about, huh?
No. Why don't you tell me who's Mike Jones? Please.
Just I can't do it.
Why?
I have his song. Well, because no one can do.
Sing it for me.
I can't. I want to, but he's a rapper.
Well, how's it? Why don't you speak it? Don't say the words. No,
281-330-8004. Who? Mike Jones?
Mike Jones?
Dude, his lyrics are hilarious. I would play it, but I'm worried that YouTube would take the video down, right? Because we don't have the rights.
That's true. It's very, very true. We don't have the rights. We ain't got the votes. So my Mac Jones, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I think his cards will probably be great. But we're in a situation now where his prism's not out. His good cards are not out. And you're running into what Andrew affectionately refers to as the LaMelo Hoops situation. So if you forget about what happened in the past, you're doomed to repeat it, right? And anybody who bought a LaMelo Hoops for $1,000 or more can tell you what it's worth now, right? And it's because that was the first card. That was the ones out. So unless I saw it wrong, it looks like Mac Jones Donruss rookie in PSA 10 is selling for like 4 figures and into the 4 figures, not just $1,000, like way more than $1,000. That is not going to stay there when the other releases come out, right? When Select comes out, when Prism comes out, when all these other cards come out. It's just a matter of people wanting Mac Jones's cards right now because he's having a great year and not having anything other than score, really, absolute and Donruss to buy. So it's not even.
Does Panini frustrate you with that? Like, is that on Panini? Is that just how the market is? Like,
no, they're doing it on purpose, right? And they're layering up. This week, Optic Contenders comes out,
that's a card to buy,
like
right?
the Contenders, so you get
someone
little
pulls the Mac Jones,
like an auto, Contenders auto. That's Basketball Contenders comes out this week. XR Football comes out, so you see they're layering it. Then it'll be Contenders, then it'll be Select. They'll work their way up.
This is frustrating for a consumer who. Here we are, basically, we're more than halfway through the NFL season, and I can't invest in the guy that I want to invest in.
That is frustrating, and it's delayed, and there's a lot of problems with that. But why we're here is to tell you, don't buy that. There's no way that's going to stay that price. No way. It's just it is an impossibility. Think of all the other cards you could buy for the price of that. When the Prism comes out, Prism base, it's not going to be that. Eventually, these things are going to settle. So really, it's just a cautionary tale here, guys. We've seen it a million times before, right? There will be an increase in supply, not only of that card, but of other cards for him. And you're right, man, but what are you supposed to do? Panini has a release
That's
schedule,
what I was thinking.
and they're not even the worst. I told you, Topps is delayed. My LCS, you showed me everything's to be determined. I was supposed to remember it was supposed to be a November release. The metal, the upper deck metal one that's going to have jambalaya and precious metal gems and the multi-sport. That's like pushed back well into next year now.
Here's how I think about it. Okay,
shoot.
The market's changed a lot, so I understand these companies need to adjust. But what we want to do is we want to go into a season and be able to buy the card of the guy that we think is going to exceed expectations. And then week 5, 6 rolls around and be like, see, I knew Mac Jones would be good. I knew. And when you take that away from people, that's frustrating because now it's a little bit more of an even playing field. But there's people who've scouted Mac Jones, knew that he had a 4.0, knew that he was incredibly accurate, knew that he'd do well, and they might have wanted to invest in him when that team was looking terrible, right?
Yep.
And they should get rewarded for that risk, but they don't even have that opportunity.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? Are you going to buy draft? You going to buy score?
Right. Well, you could buy right and be wrong, right? As you're explaining here with this $3,000 card, you could buy right and be wrong. So that's frustrating because now everybody knows how great Mac Jones is. But I put in the work to know it on week 1. I just had no opportunity to capitalize on that, and that's 100%. Frustrating for the market.
I'm with you, but how do you fix it? Is there one way to fix it? Mosaic digital?
I think digital's got to be the move.
All right.
I think digital's got to be the move.
Digital's you see that being released. Mosaic football
digital
came out
Prism
today, right? And
digital Prism.
But basketball they did Prism, and that's out before the physical one. And now digital, I think Mosaic came out today on Panini Digital. So who knows? It's not exactly the one that people are going to want, but
exactly, Mosaic's going to lose value when Prism comes out. So to release digital Prism on week 3, release the real product on week 8, and that's it. Have some fun. That's perfect.
Makes sense. It makes sense, guys. Listen. It's really just a cautionary tale, right? Because we've seen it before. And if you're new to this and Mac Jones is your guy, trust me, the Donruss card in PSA 10 now is not going to stay at the price that it's at. That's the only little tidbit we got for you there. And we'll be back tomorrow with another fun one.
I'm worried you might not even be able to get 80% of your value in 6 months on that card.
I'm worried about 50% of your value. I saw a price like $3,000. It's absurd. Crazy stuff.
It's absurd.
Thanks,
Love
everybody.